Welcome to Knightline, the morning after, on ESPN 580 Orlando, WDBO. Night Nation's only call-in show goes live now.
Alrighty, this is Andrew Phegley here live from the VictoryCasinoCruises.com studio, taking your calls, 844-225-5580 on the Dever team line. That is 844-225-5580 for your calls on the Dever team line, or 21232 on the Little Greek Fresh Grill text line, or you can reach me, AP_Knightline on Twitter. This is Knightline the morning after. Joining me is Kyle Israel and Night Bengal Roger, and Chase is here as well today with us. I hope you all had a good holiday. What's going on, guys?
I had a great holiday. Spent some time with the fam. Got to watch a soggy football game, and a great win against a team that we used to play quite a bit.
Yeah, for me, bowl game was awesome. I went over there with my dad and my little 7-year-old brother, and I told you at the game, that was the first time we had done anything like that as a family. So to see UCF get a win, to have my little brother on the sideline before the game, to slap hands with the players, that stuff doesn't really get me excited, but seeing that excitement through him was really fun that day. So overall, the weather was crappy. There's no doubt about it, but I was very pleased with the overall experience of the Gasparilla
Awesome.
Bowl.
Chase, what about you?
My holiday was all right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, Christmas was in there.
Christmas was in there as well. Yeah, all right. So we got a lot of stuff on the table here for today. We're going to talk, obviously, about the Gasparilla Bowl. UCF football wins the Gasparilla Bowl 48-25 over Marshall. So we're going to obviously talk about that. We're going to talk about the fan turnout. We're going to have our final thoughts on the season. And then next season expectations, we're going to talk a little bit about that. And we're going to talk a little bit probably about the other bowl games. Those are going in full swing right now. I had a couple of the playoff games last night, or the playoff games last night. So we now know that it's LSU and Clemson.
Yep.
In the college football invitational championship.
Probably the only good game out of the bowl season was definitely that Ohio State-Clemson game last night, too.
Yeah. After watching the LSU blowout, I didn't watch all of that game, and when I saw the score at the end, I was like, man, I should have watched that one, because at first it was kind of starting. When I turned it off, it was like all Ohio State.
Well, there's moments. Are you talking about Ohio State or Clemson? And Ohio State and Clemson?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there were moments in that football game with what we saw from Trevor Lawrence that was just absolutely brilliant. They couldn't get anything going, couldn't establish the running game. And when you have a 6'6", 220-pound quarterback that scampers for a 67-yard touchdown and gallops away from defenders that are very fast, I mean, it just shows how special a guy like Trevor Lawrence is. And really, I know Joe Burrow had a phenomenal game, 7 touchdowns in the first half. I mean, just absolutely insane. But what Trevor Lawrence did last night was arguably more impressive, because to go down 16, and they probably should have been down at a minimum 24, to keep the team rallied around you, to have your top 2 wide receivers go in and out of the football game. We're just watching somebody, and really 2 players in Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, that are transcendent for college football. We expected it out of Trevor Lawrence at the beginning of his career. Joe Burrow came bursting onto the scene, as we were exposed to a little bit last year as UCF fans. And I just think it's incredible for college football to see 2 guys play at this level. And it shows how difficult it is to win a national championship, because these guys have to play their best football to do so.
Absolutely. Hey, did you see during the LSU game, they showed the hit by Joey Connors, and Joe Burrow said that was basically the time when the switch flipped for him.
Yep.
And, things were going to be different from that point on. He said he had to get up. There was no way. He was hurting from that hit, obviously, but he had to get up, and that's kind of where this all started for him, and where the switch flipped. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
I wish he wouldn't have gotten up from that.
I was just about to say, well, he he got smelling salts. That's how he got up from that hit. I mean, Joey Connors really lit a lick on him. But you're 100% right. I mean, for him, I think that he played completely differently in that game against us last year. They also mentioned it briefly in the OSU game when they were playing Clemson. They didn't show the hit. They started to, and then they got kind of sidetracked. But, we're a big part of the narrative, and every major game, now you're talking about national semifinals, right, for college football, and they're still talking about UCF.
Well, yeah, they're talking about last year's UCF, though, so they need to start we need to make some noise again this upcoming season, I believe, so they'll talk about this year's or that year's.
I know that on your topic is the final thoughts for this season, but when you reflect on, and I don't like to do this, but when you reflect on what could have been, okay, without McKenzie getting hurt and just how UCF could have parlayed the last 2 years into this year, it looks really hard that we would have been competitive in a playoff, probably more competitive than Oklahoma was.
I think so, yeah.
To be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it really just kind of magnifies, the opportunity that was ahead of us. But I think that what you're seeing you have to have a really good quarterback, right, to be able to get to that level and be a top 10 team. And I think Dylan Gabriel right now as our starter gives us a shot to be a very, very, very good football team again and be in a conversation where we can try and make the run Memphis did this year.
Yeah. All right, well, call us 844-225-5580, 844-225-5580. You can call us, and we're going to talk about the Gasparilla Bowl and what we thought about that. Also, keep in mind, you can call us and talk about your final thoughts on the season and what your expectations are for next season. One of the things that I want to talk about in that area of the final thoughts is like, what was your biggest surprise? What was your biggest disappointment? Stuff like that. So please, if you're hearing us, 844-225-5580, or you can text us at 21232. Let's just start going with the Gasparilla Bowl. I went. I thought that I had a great time. The rain and all that stuff. Me and a couple buddies went up, or went over, I guess, on Sunday night, and then, went out and had a good time as much as we could in the pouring rain on Sunday evening, early Monday morning, and then we went to the game, and I mean, I enjoyed the game. I thought that it was a good game. I thought that we came out, doing really well, especially with those turnovers in the beginning. I think set the tone for the whole thing. And I was excited after that. I mean, that really did set the tone. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, the defense came out swinging. I mean, Richie Grant was part of the first two series turnovers.
Good to see him do something special again, because he's been very quiet this year back there.
Yeah, definitely. He had that pick on the first drive. Kind of slipped off the other Marshall receiver's hand when the quarterback sailed the ball a little bit. Got that pick. There was even pushing and shoving. It was very, very chippy from the start of the game. There was a lot of pushing and shoving on that play. Second series, Richie comes back. He pokes it out. Collier picks it up and gets a fumble recovery. And then Morris Brash, our freshman phenom D lineman, breaks up a lateral pass and then takes it in for the scoop and score. So we were up 21-0 pretty quickly. And then there was 4 out of the first 5 drives for Marshall were turnovers. So from that perspective, the defensive play was just phenomenal. I mean, I don't think they could have played any better. Even the tackling was great.
Hey, we got a phone call here. Let's take this. Brian in Orlando. You wanted to talk about the Gasparilla Bowl. What's up, man?
Hey, guys. Good morning. What's up? It's Beck.
What's up, man? What's going on, Beck? How you doing, man?
Good. Hey, just wanted to chime in. I think what's got me on a long road trip here, but what's sad about the current state, I mean, the Gasparilla Bowl is what it is, but I just think the corporate aspects of the way the bowl system's set up now, it's just a shame not to put Marshall down, but even all the way up through Florida and Virginia, that's just a horrible matchup, right? I mean, Virginia's last game out, they got just absolutely smoked, and then you got a 10-2 Notre Dame who's playing Iowa State. Florida, Notre Dame would have been a better matchup, or UCF, Florida, or So we went and we had a good time, but I think somebody with zero college football knowledge could pick better bowl matchups across the board.
Yeah, and I think, obviously, you bring up the corporate aspect. I think that the conferences have a lot to do. The conference offices have a lot to do with the bowl matchups, and obviously they're trying to create – there's a number of things at play. How many fans are going to travel, et cetera, selling tickets. But, yeah, you're right. I mean, when you look across college football, conferences and sponsors definitely have a big role in where these teams are ending up. And you in some of these big games like the Orange Bowl, you scratch your head and you say – man, there's got to be better matchups out across the country. But for UCF specifically, with where we are today, we're unfortunately going to have this battle every single year if we're not considered for, one of those Power Six New Year's Day, the New Year's Six bowl games. We're going to end up in something that is kind of just okay, in my opinion. And so, yeah, college football bowl games could be more exciting, but there's a lot of hands in the pot.
The other part about that, too, I mean, like in our situation specifically this year, we didn't want to play North Carolina again, which, by the way, North Carolina actually looked pretty good. So that sets up a great game for us for the first game of the season next year. We've got a series with them. I think we've got another 3 games with them already scheduled. So, we were just kind of a victim of, to Kyle's point, the conference's affiliations. And that's the next step for Mike Oresco, is to really get in there and do a better job of getting us better bowls, because there are geographic considerations. There are considerations of where everybody kind of falls, right? So we're at the mercy in our conference, in the pecking order of what the other conferences teams do and where they end up. So go ahead, Kyle.
And I think one of the things, if we don't lose to Tulsa, UCF may not have played in the Gasparilla Bowl. We may have ended up somewhere else. But when you lose to a 2-7 football team at the time, you really tie your hands in regards to the decision-making process and even your voice in this whole discussion. I think if we had lost to just Pittsburgh and to just Cincinnati, maybe we're looking at a little bit better of bowl. But once you lose to Tulsa, that's really it. You're going to end up wherever they put you.
Well, we had, 4th slot this time?
Yeah.
So, we were a victim of our own play, but we were also a victim of the system as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can't get the New Year's Six bowl game, personally, I would rather it be kept locally, at least, and our bowl choices locally. We're not going to get into one of those to the big ones that are here. So it's either the Cure Bowl or the Gasparilla Bowl. I think the Gasparilla,
I guess,
or the Boca Bowl, that is technically local too. I think it's good that they kept it in state, even though those were our choices.
Well, I certainly wouldn't want to end up in like Birmingham, or even I really wouldn't want to play in Shreveport or any of those games. I mean,
Military Bowl. That one would have been a little bit better, but
if you had a palatable matchup in that game, the Military Bowl going up to Annapolis, I think would be kind of cool this time of year, and to see what they have to offer.
Definitely cool.
Very cold and a cool experience.
Exactly. No, it's always a cool experience to go up there, but I just, it just makes it a lot easier for our fans to go. And I don't know if our fan support would have been a lot more if the weather was better for that game. I think it probably would have. It was pretty good anyway, though.
I mean, we didn't have as many students. You could kind of tell that. But when you looked around and you were in that club section, I stood there and talked to you for a while. Like, I saw a lot of the people that I would anticipate going to these games there. If you want to call it our core 10 to 15,000, a lot of those people were there that certainly could make an easy trip over. And so maybe we missed out on some fans, or on some students. But when you look at the weather, and not just rain, but the temperature, it was like a cold rain. I thought, once it filled in, a quarter in, that we had a pretty good turnout.
I think a lot of it had to do with the timing as well. I mean, it was Monday at 2:30. And the other part of it, I was actually sitting on the opposite end. I was in the Marshall section. I got quote unquote upgraded to club area on the Marshall sideline, and most of the Marshall folks stayed in the club area, so they didn't even come out and sit. The few that were under the overhang, and I went back up several times, and they were all still in there. And they never came out because they really never had a reason to. I mean, we were winning the game from the onset. And, as far as attendance is concerned, they got definitely more vocal and more people were in their seats. There were a lot of people in the cabana by the pirate ship area. So for this bowl, this time of the year, I think we did okay.
All righty. Hey, we're going to take a little bit of a break. We'll be right back on Knightline the morning after, continuing our conversation.
The following message is sponsored by the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation, the Florida Association of Broadcasters, and this radio station.
Hurricanes can cause severe damage to your home or property, so if you need storm repairs, make sure you use only Florida licensed contractors. Remember to check their references, get everything in writing, and don't pay up front. To verify your contractors are licensed, contact the Florida Department of Business and Professional Regulation online at myfloridalicense.com. That's myfloridalicense.com.
Don't just lose weight, Central Florida. Burn fat with the original burnfatorlando.com.
I've bought new clothes. My whole life has changed, and I can't believe that I'm not hungry.
Don't be fooled by imitators. Burn fat. Lose 30 to 40 pounds in only 40 days with the original burnfatorlando.com, with locations throughout Central Florida. Call now at 855-889-THIN. That's 855-889-8446. And remember,
we want to see less of you.
Oviedo Brewing Company is the hottest microbrewery in Central Florida. Located 7 miles from UCF at the Oviedo Mall, this 8,800 square foot brewery just opened its doors 6 months ago and has already crafted 13 unique beer flavors and counting in their tap room. The tap room contains different styles of beverages, including ciders, wines, and craft sodas. Not only do they have amazing beers, they also have a full kitchen with gourmet pizzas, wings, and tacos. Oviedo Brewing has activities for each day of the week, such as Taco Tuesdays, Trivia Wednesdays, Pizza and Pint on Thursdays, plus live music on Friday and Saturday evening. But the best is Sunday brunch with unlimited beer mimosas. Need a spot for game day? Oviedo Brewing is just the place with their large TVs to catch all the live games. You also find Oviedo Brewing at UCF tailgating sampling beers. And OBC support for the Knights doesn't stop there. If you need a spot for UCF away games, come to Oviedo Brewing Company. You can get all the details on their Instagram or Facebook page. Follow them at Oviedo Brewing CO. Download the Untapped app, and you can find out what beers are on tap. The food menu is also available on their website, oviedobrewingco.com.
This holiday season, Shoot Straight will offer the biggest, best deals of the entire year. Save big on the Beretta 92 FS for $429, the Smith & Wesson Shield 9mm pistol for $279, and the Springfield XDS for $399. Shop Shoot Straight's holiday sale now through December 31st. Visit any Shoot Straight location for these amazing deals. Get more info at shoot-straight.com.
Guys, if you messed up by getting her a robot vacuum cleaner for Christmas, International Diamond Center can get you out of the doghouse. Now through New Year's Eve, you can still get that stunning piece of jewelry and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 down and 0 interest. Everything's included. Rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands, all the gifts women love. But hurry, this amazingly popular offer ends December 31st at 6 p.m. and will not be extended. Come in now and get her that $3,000 pair of diamond stud earrings for just $50 a month. And if you're planning that New Year's Eve engagement, we've got you covered with a great selection of ready-to-wear rings starting as low as $795. Plus, over 1,000 diamonds that we're selling at wholesale prices. You pay what a jeweler would pay. Don't miss the best holiday savings ever at International Diamond Center. 4 convenient Orlando locations. Get details and store hours now at shopidc.com. Approved credit.
Whether it's on AM 580, FM 96.5 HD2, Alexa, or Google Home, we are everywhere you hear audio. ESPN 580 Orlando, Orlando's home for the biggest events in sports.
And now, back to Knightline, the morning after, on ESPN 580 Orlando, WDBO. Call now at 844-225-5580 or text at 21232.
Alrighty, we are back live from the VictoryCasinoCruises.com studio. This is Andrew Phegley, and this is Knightline the morning after. Taking your calls, 844-225-5580 on the Dever team line, or your text at 21232 on the Little Greek Fresh Grill text line, or at AP Knightline on Twitter, AP_Knightline on Twitter. Joining me today is Kyle Israel and Knight Bengal and Chase Bunker in the other room there.
Hey, you got it this time.
I know, yeah. I always forget to put that on the end of it. Anyway, we are here and we're talking about right now the Gasparilla Bowl versus Marshall recap. We were going to talk a little bit about fan turnout, final thoughts on the season, next season expectations. Got a couple player information things going on to pass along, and a little bit about the bowl games so far that we've witnessed. So back to the Gasparilla Bowl thing. Chase, you brought up a point on the last one in between the break there, just talking about Randy Shannon and the game that he called.
Yeah, I feel like this, out of all the games that he's called so far, I feel like this was the best defensive performance we've seen in since his tenure, essentially. I think you could also maybe say honorable mention the Stanford game, but I feel like this one was probably the more solid performance, especially when you have the 4 turnovers and 5 possessions, which is crazy. Part of it is also sloppy field conditions, a wet ball and all of that, but also part of the time is I looked at their stats. Let me pull this up real quick. Isaiah Green only completed 9 passes.
Yeah.
That's it. And you had, Brandon Knox ran for 103. He's going to do that. But the fact is that you hold your quarterback to 9 completions is kind of astonishing. You have to give him credit for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, defense was on display the entire time, starting out early, and that's what kind of got it going. Where were we there? There stuff?
If we want to pick up on the defense, let me just say this about that. This year, tackles for a loss, we led the nation. A lot of what Randy Shannon's defense is predicated on and was on display during this game was that D-line. All that effort and time that they took in recruiting and getting transfers and coaching up the D-line is finally starting to flower into a lot of pressure on backfields. I mean, if you watch Green, he was on the run pretty much the whole time. He even had that intentional grounding penalty there on that one, and that was just pure pressure. Kalia Davis was in the backfield quite a bit. Drop was back there. Everybody was back there, and he was getting pressured all night. You combine that with some good secondary play. You had some new faces out there. Amari Maxwell was out there. He was getting picked on pretty much the whole game, but he held up pretty well. So when you combine those two things, he didn't have anywhere to throw to. The only thing they could really do was tuck and run on the RPO, and that was the only thing they really had success with. As far as everything else was concerned, it was the D-line the whole time in his face, and he couldn't complete a pass.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, one of the things that I want to talk about is the running backs. Our running backs did a heck of a game, get a heck of a job in the game, I should say. 330 yards net, 310 when you take away losses and stuff like that. But we had nobody that got 100 yards or whatever, but we got 4 or 5 people here that got at least 40 yards. So what a running back core. And this is even missing Adrian Killens that didn't play in this game, because he's getting ready for his Senior Bowl or whichever one that he's playing in, and for the draft. So,
well, I think that when you look at next season from a running back perspective, I feel very comfortable there. Obviously, Otis Anderson had this announcement that he was staying, which I'm cool with.
Didn't surprise anybody.
Didn't
really
surprise me, but I'm glad that he is. There's no doubt about that. I would have scratched my head if he said that he was going to decide to go, because I think that he has a lot to gain by another year. Not just on offense, but on special teams and some other things. But
I think not only, though, was he considering going to the NFL, I think he was considering transferring as well.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Maybe getting into a system that would use him more efficiently, I think was some of that thought behind there, just from...
Well, if that news got back to Coach Heupel, I would hope that they would have a conversation and say...
And I think that they probably did, yeah.
More than likely say, this is how we're going to use you, we'll give you this many touches, or we'd like to. But I think that we're, if I'm Dylan Gabriel, I'm really excited about what I have coming back next year in the backfield. I think that in his junior year, we're going to see a huge breakout year by Bentavious Thompson. I really believe that. We saw some of that in this bowl game. Not only is he a formidable runner up the middle, but he's a great pass protector as well. And then you sprinkle in Greg McCrae again, and then really just those 3 guys.
Where does Greg McCrae fit in now? I mean, because of him being injured, and I mean, honestly, if we're talking about I wanted to talk a little bit about biggest disappointments and biggest, surprises. That was one of my biggest disappointments, to be honest with you, was Greg McCray. And I know that he was injured, but I mean, after last year and having, 1,000 yards, I really thought that he would be more a part of the thing, even more than Adrian Killins personally. I thought Killins would have his time. Otis would have his time. Bentavious would get his touches. But I really thought Greg McCray was going to do more. And I was disappointed by that.
Well, to me, it kind of harkens back to this particular game. In the first half, obviously, it was wet. We weren't doing much with passing. So what you saw was, and something that I really enjoyed, was watching all the creativity in the backfield. We had a lot of two-back sets. We had Marlon Williams moving around, a lot of movement in the backfield. So I think what you see is, depending on what the defense gives you, is going to dictate what you're going to see out of Otis Anderson. So I think Greg McCray is the feature back, quote-unquote feature back, because Otis is so dangerous in all of the different areas. He might line up in slot.
No, I was talking about the entire season, though. I mean, we didn't see Greg McCray be the feature back in any of the games.
Well, he couldn't be. I mean, he was injured for most of it. So when you look at it from that perspective, Greg McCray last year, he started coming on towards the end of the year. You had AK at the beginning of this year and basically throughout this particular season as the feature back, and then you had Otis kind of taking up that Greg McCray kind of position that he had last year, where he came through. So, for this entire season, I wouldn't say Greg McCray to me is a disappointment, because even when he came back, there was going to be 2 or 3 games where you're getting back into the groove of things. You saw him play well.
He wasn't injured at the beginning of the season, though.
No.
There were plenty of opportunities to use him at the beginning of the season, and they didn't.
Well, I mean, in this offense, and one of the things that even in the game that we saw when we struggled, once we get the ball moving, once we start this up-tempo, you saw Ohio State do it at the beginning of the game last night. I've said this before, it really kind of mitigates a lot of our offense, because we get up to the ball in 10 seconds. We have a play called quickly, generally a run-pass option that we're running it straight into the meat of the defensive line. And it's frustrating at times, because we'll get a big first down, and then it's 2nd and 8, then it's 3rd and 6, and we've just run it right up the middle. And then we're expecting Dylan to bail us out on 3rd down. I think that, the consistency in our up-tempo game has got to get better. But when you play like that at that speed, and you have a guy like Gabe Davis on the outside and Trey Nixon, and you want to get the ball to Marlon, and you want to get our tight ends involved with Hescock and those guys, and then you have 4 backs that need to get touches. And, oh, by the way, Dylan Gabriel's starting to run the ball a little bit more. There's only a certain number of plays that we're running in a game, and I think it's going to be hard in this style offense to ever see a back featured. Now, if attrition or other things leaves us with 1 or 2 backs, well, maybe we may see a guy really stand out. But when you have 3 or 4 backs that can get the job done and seem interchangeable, then I don't know that there's ever going to be a featured individual.
Right. Well,
Gabe Davis was our featured player this year. Right. We were going to him deep. We were going to him often. And it showed in his numbers. And so it'll be interesting to see how that kind of transitions, some of his touches transitions to other guys next year.
That's true. All right, hey, let's take a little bit of a break here again, and we'll be right back on Knightline the morning after.
It's the height of bowl season and the final week of pro football, and you can follow all the action at betonline.net. The college football playoff semifinals headline a 10-game bowl weekend, and betonline.net is there for you during all the playoff drama. Week 17 in the pros is all about playoff standings, highlighted by a massive NFC West clash between division frontrunners San Francisco and Seattle. Before the next kickoff, head over to betonline.net for the latest news, scores, and odds. Bring the game home with betonline.net.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Postgame Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
Where can you get your oil changed for under $10? offers? Right now, only at Napleton, Kissimmee, or Claremont. Buy one oil change for $39.95 and get 3 more for free. That's less than $10 in oil change. We service all makes and models. We dare you to compare. Plus, get a tire rotation for only $4.95 with the purchase of any service during this special event. Napleton, Kissimmee, or Claremont will beat anybody's price on any service. We guarantee it. Visit us online to make your appointment today at NapletonCJD.com. See dealer for full program details.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Light Up UCF is celebrating 12 years of snowy nights and sparkling lights now through January 5th at Addition Financial Arena on the UCF campus. Check out the new light show powered by Duke Energy with more lights, more snow, and new music. Light Up UCF is a winter wonderland of fun. Enjoy ice skating, the ice slide, Ferris wheel, free movies, and an all-new carousel. Don't forget to take a photo with Santa in Barnes & Noble. Light Up UCF celebrating 12 years of snowy nights and sparkling lights. For more info, visit lightupUCF.com.
Island H2O Live, a new wave of water park.
Experience the next generation of fun at Island H2O Live. You choose the music, you choose the lighting, and you choose where to share your memorable moments at Florida's newest and most immersive water park.
Island H2O Live.
Now open in Kissimmee, located off US 192 and State Road 429 on Inspiration Boulevard.
Island H2O Live.
Whether it's on AM 580, FM 96.5 HD2, Alexa, or Google Home, we are everywhere you hear audio. ESPN 580 Orlando, Orlando's home for the biggest events in sports.
And now, back to Knightline, the morning after, on ESPN 580 Orlando, WDBO. Call now at 844-225-5580 or text at 21232.
All right, back live from the Victory Casino Cruises.com studio, home of the only legal sports book in Central Florida. Victory Casino Cruises is. We're taking your calls, 844-225-5580 or 21232 on the Little Greek Fresh Grill text line. Here with Kyle Israel, Knight Bengal, and Chase Bunker. And we're talking Gasparilla Bowl still. We started a little bit in on the thoughts on our season. I was talking a little bit about Greg McCrae and how I was a little bit disappointed on how they used him. We got Andrew from Oviedo on the phone here. Let's see what he has to say about this. Andrew, what's going on, my friend?
Doing well, guys. How about yourself?
All right.
Well, I was going to call. I know you wanted to talk about the Gasparilla Bowl. I was thinking more of a season, how the season was going, and the thought process kind of going forward.
Yep.
I'm excited. I guess in terms of who we're going to be starting off the season with, I think the UNC game is going to be very exciting, considering how the season ended for both of us. But I guess another thing is I'm trying to figure out. I know I wouldn't say I consider myself an older fan, but I've always been interested to see the new wave of fans we've gotten. And how do you think the fan base is going to temper this off season? Are they going to build us up? Are they going to try to find are they going to be overcritical of our losses, overzealous of our wins? It's been very interesting seeing how engaging this new wave of fandom is. And I'm kind of curious of your thoughts on how do you think the fan base's mindset is going forward in this off season?
Well, thanks for that call, Andrew, and I'll take this. This is Kyle. I think obviously the new era of UCF fan are probably going to look at our program a little bit differently. When you think of myself, who's been a fan since probably 1998 or 1999, where I was regularly coming to games before I was starting to be recruited, my expectation for UCF was just different. I was going to watch a football game. Heck, I probably thought UCF may lose a lot of those games. And so the expectation is so high, and that expectation is that we're going to win every football game, and that we're going to do so in a dramatic fashion or going away. And I think that those expectations are great to have for a program because it continues to push the envelope. But at the same time, sometimes I think that those expectations can be too high. And when you think of the style of offense we play that's really, really exciting and engaging for a fan base and a defense that generally in the last 2 seasons has created turnovers, I think that this fan base is going to push for more. I think that we want to be on the tongues and coming out of the mouths of the national pundits on a week-to-week basis. And this is a program that can absolutely stay in that spotlight. And so I think that this new fan, whatever they are or wherever they come from, has a very, very high expectation. And I think that they're going to be supportive of this football team because I think the games that we lost are very obvious why we lost those games. And you can point to each game and see moments in time, say this is the difference in the ball game. And I think that's a good thing rather than saying, man, we just got out-athlete. We just don't have the players. We've been in that position in the past. Heck, when I was playing for UCF, people looked at me and said, Kyle just can't win us those big games. And I think that's where our program was. There's some validity to that. And I think now we just expect to go out and win every football game, and so we're going to continue to push.
Yeah, for me too, I think that's the same thing. I mean, you think about all the kids that are coming out of school now, right, over the past 3 to 4 years, the seniors that are graduating now, they have not gone through what we have gone through.
Right.
Our brand has been nationally relevant now for the past, I'd say, starting with the Fiesta Bowl and going back through, so that's all they've known. Their expectations is big boy football.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think our expectations are now, too. I know that's Danny White's expectations, and I think the fan bases as well. They are still filling up the stadium. I mean, we've got a wait list for our season tickets for the first time in our history. And we're not just talking about, 500 people. We're talking about thousands of people that are on a wait list. So our core group that we have with Dylan Gabriel now getting back another year, having a year under his belt, I think expectations for those close games, he can be the difference maker, whereas he was learning throughout this year. And again, I'm not blaming him for our losses this year. I think he's just that extra X factor that can help get us over the hump when we don't have that. So I think expectations as a fan base as a whole have been raised, as a program has been raised, AD, Danny White. And, let me just point something out here. This year, when we're talking about our explosive offense, right, we ranked first in scoring in the first quarter, over 14 points on average. Are you talking
nationally?
Nationally. Second quarter, we ranked fifth with 11 points. Third quarter, first with 12 points per quarter. And then fourth quarter, 111th. Now, that's because we're usually so far ahead that there's kind of a drop-off there. But you've got one of the number one offenses in the entire country. Defensively, right, we rank number ones in tackles behind the line, right, of scrimmage, right, so tackles for a loss. We've got one of the, I think it was 28th ranked total defense overall. So you've been watching exciting football, and I think those expectations continue to rise. That goes throughout recruiting. That goes throughout anything that we do that's involved with this program. Facilities. There's a lot of energy and there's a lot of buzz, and I don't think that's going away. I think a lot of people are the expectations, and I heard you say we win every game. I had some notes for our conversation around expectations. Next year, I don't see that there's a reason why we don't win every game. I think UNC is going to be a little tough, which will be good to start the season off with that and really test our mettle. The wide receiver group has a little bit of work to do.
That game's at home, right?
But it's at home. We have not lost in the bounce house.
First game of the season.
Right, yeah. In 3 years. Mm-hmm. So I think that's all they see is winning. Most people don't travel. We have a good traveling fan base, but most people don't travel. That's what their expectations are, and quite frankly, that's what mine are.
All right, Chase.
I feel like with this new fan base, they're not accustomed to us losing. And so I think, some people are going to say, automatically, 3-loss season, it's a failure when the past 2 seasons we've gone undefeated. So I guess, but at the same time, where they've directed their hatred is what also I find frustrating. A lot of it is geared toward Dylan Gabriel, a true freshman quarterback. And so, I've had to have this argument, of course, on Twitter, because I think Twitter is just, French for arguing.
French for arguing.
I'm pretty sure it is. Scientifically proven.
It's English, it's French, it's Chinese,
so,
Mandarin.
if you
is
compare,
the quote of the show.
There
right
you go.
there.
If you look at Gabriel's stats, he's better than Milton. And you're saying, well, wait a minute, Milton played less games than Gabriel. You're right, but I'll take his 10 worst games yardage wise. He still outthrew Milton in yards, touchdowns, and he had fewer interceptions. He beats Milton in every category. And so I think to direct your hatred towards him is not accurate. It's not correct. Like, if you're going to direct towards something else, just not Dylan.
You've seen that growth with him, though. I mean, you look at the RPO, the development of the RPO over that period of time. I mean, even in the bowl game, we were talking about that. You see Dylan run in the last couple of games. You know, it takes a while for a freshman quarterback who's 18 years old that is going against 22, 23-year-old men, and, you know, getting used to the speed of the game, getting used to the calls, understanding how to read defenses. It's a lot more complicated than what it was before. And now you've got someone towards the end of the year that you're starting to see, okay, I know when to pull the ball. I'm confident. Let me go ahead and break that up and do, you know, run myself. I don't necessarily have to hand the ball off. And the more dimensions that we add, the better that this team's going to be. So to me, that's a learning curve for the coaching staff on how to use them, and also for Dylan on how he can use his own talent.
And I will say this, and I think that my biggest surprise of the year, okay, was Dylan Gabriel's performance. I wouldn't expect 3,000 yards passing and to only lose 3 games if I knew we were going to be going with him, let's say, the last 6-7 months. But at the same time, you look at the offense as a whole. If we want to use Dylan in the running game next year, which I think that we should and do want to do, it magnifies DJ Mack deciding to come back, I think he is decided to come back.
Yeah.
Because, okay, now we can really use Dylan and feel comfortable that if he goes down, then a guy like DJ Mack is there for us. And so I appreciate DJ making the decision to stay. I think that a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, would have probably transferred out knowing that Dylan was going to be a true sophomore. So give credit to DJ to sticking strong with our program, and that'll allow us to be a little bit more flexible with Dylan next season, knowing that DJ Mack is behind him.
Absolutely. Hey, let's go to the phone real quick. We have, I think it's Chris in Orlando. He wants to talk about recruiting a little bit. How you doing?
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Very good.
Just want to touch base on, we're getting some good recruits in, but I don't think we've tapped that 4- and 5-star level that I think is going to really, really propel the program. How do you feel we're working towards that, and see what your opinion was with that?
Well, this has been a big topic for me lately, Chris, because I've been a little bit critical because I don't think that our recruiting has paralleled the success that our program has had overall. Now, I brought up the 4- and 5-star conversation the other day to a couple people, and I was put in check a little bit by them saying, Kyle, there's only a certain amount of 4- and 5-star guys in the country, and a majority of those guys are going to go to Power 5 schools. So you got to kind of be very careful when you start throwing out this star rating system, because a 3-star kid coming out of Miami or Florida is probably a 4-star guy coming out of North Carolina. That's the difference in the play. And so, but when there's only so many 4-stars, let's just call 4 or 5 stars, let's call it 300 players across the country, the likelihood that UCF pulls many of those guys, if any, is very small when you start to think about the Taj Mahal of facilities that these players are walking into across the country. UCF does not have that. I still think that we should be better at recruiting than we have been, but again, I've been critical and people have questioned me and say, Kyle, well, there's not that many 4- and 5-star guys out there. I'd like to get a handful, but when you look at the ones we've had over the past couple of 5 or 6 years, it's not like all of them have panned out to be these rock stars.
Most of them haven't, actually.
Right.
I mean,
and I think for me, as far as recruiting is concerned, one of the things we have to consider, there is a glass ceiling for quote-unquote G5s.
There's no
right
doubt.
now, we are overachieving with our players in our program because we are at a P5 level with everything that we have, right? So the challenge we have is there's 65 quote-unquote access teams that have access to the playoff. We do not have a guaranteed access to the playoff. We've been averaging the last few years mid-50s for that. So that means we're recruiting better than at least 10 schools every single year, right, that have access to that. So that's a big knock on us. And remember, we have, with the playoff right now, there's 4 teams that can get in, which means there's a consolidation in brands for players. So those big 4- and 5-star players, they're gray shirting at Alabama. Anthony, and A-Rob. A-Rob was one of those players that was gray shirting. He came to us out of the transfer portal, right? So a lot of what we're going to get is those transfers. But that 65, that 45 level, as that consolidation happens, those we're not going to have access to those players. So I think we're actually doing well for where we're at and the access that we have, although we should get better.
And I know we're backed up against the break. I will say this. Coach Heupel has done a phenomenal job of using the transfer portal. We may not have access to 4- or 5-star guys on the front end of the recruiting cycle, but if we can pull some guys that are transferring, a la Robinson from Oklahoma, we can get 4 or 5-star recruited guys, but we just got to get them a different way.
We're getting them on the back end. Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break here. We'll be right back on Knightline the morning after.
This holiday season, Shoot Straight will offer the biggest, best deals of the entire year. Save big on the Beretta 92 FS for $429, the Smith & Wesson Shield 9mm pistol for $279, and the Springfield XDS for $399. Shop Shoot Straight's holiday sale now through December 31st. Visit any Shoot Straight location for these amazing deals. Get more info at shoot-straight.com.
Hi, I'm Dr. Patrick St. Germain, D.C. Why does BurnFatOrlando.com work when other programs fail? Because we focus on burning fat. Here's what our patients say.
I've had a great deal of success on the program, and I was a type 2 diabetic. I'm no longer insulin dependent. My endocrinologist told me just take the pump off.
You can lose 30 to 40 pounds in only 40 days. Call me at 855-889-THIN. Locations throughout Central Florida.
Guys, if you messed up by getting her a robot vacuum cleaner for Christmas, International Diamond Center can get you out of the doghouse. Now through New Year's Eve, you can still get that stunning piece of jewelry and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 down and 0 interest. Everything's included. Rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, bands, all the gifts women love. But hurry, this amazingly popular offer ends December 31st at 6 p.m. and will not be extended. Come in now and get her that $3,000 pair of diamond stud earrings for just $50 a month. And if you're planning that New Year's Eve engagement, we've got you covered with a great selection of ready-to-wear rings starting as low as $795. Plus, over 1,000 diamonds that we're selling at wholesale prices. You pay what a jeweler would pay. Don't miss the best holiday savings ever at International Diamond Center. 4 convenient Orlando locations. Get details and store hours now at shopidc.com and approve credit.
Where can you get your oil changed for under $10? Right now, only at Napleton, Kissimmee, or Claremont. Buy 1 oil change for $39.95 and get 3 more for free. That's less than $10 in oil change. We service all makes and models. We dare you to compare. Plus, get a tire rotation for only $4.95 with the purchase of any service during this special event. Napleton, Kissimmee, or Claremont will beat anybody's price on any service. We guarantee it. Visit us online to make your appointment today at napletonCJD.com. See dealer for full program details.
You've heard us talk about the great food at our good friend Kyle Israel's restaurant, The Little Greek Fresh Grill. The Little Greek now has franchises available. Please call 407-697-2272. That's 407-697-2272 to see what The Little Greek can do for you. Also, check out The Little Greek's newest location at 3131 Daniels Road, Suite 104, Winter Garden, Florida. The Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous.
The guys from Dude Perfect are coming to Orlando. It's the Dude Perfect 2020 Live Tour at the Amway Center on May 30th. And we have your shot to win tickets now. Register online at ESPNOrlando.com.
And now, back to Knightline, the morning after, on ESPN 580 Orlando, WDBO. Call now at 844-225-5580 or text at 21232.
All right, back live from the VictoryCasinoCruises.com studio. This is Andrew Phegley. Joining me, Kyle Israel, Knight Bengal, and Chase Bunker. Hey, we got James on the phone, and he wants to talk about recruiting. James from Altamont, thank you for calling. What's up?
I guess one thing, I think we're looking at improved recruiting totally wrong. It's not about 4 stars or 5 stars. It's about, in the past, UCF used to get 3 stars that early on had P5 offers, but in the end they were either processed or non-committable, so UCF was kind of the fallback. If you look now, we're getting 3 stars that have active and committable offers from P5s, and they're choosing UCF instead of choosing those other programs. In the past, if the P5 came at the last minute, they bolted, kind of like Sam Brown did this year to go to those offers. Look at Morris Brash. Look at Demarius Good. Look at Brown this year. Look at Hodges. Look at Dylan Gabriel. Those are players who were 3 stars who had active offers, real live offers from P5 schools, and they chose UCF anyway. That's the difference. That's the improvement of recruiting to me. It's not about 4 stars. We're now getting a different set of 3 stars.
I agree completely, by the way, with you.
That's my view of that's the incremental improvement based on performance. They're choosing UCF now as opposed to, again, think back to the past. How many players that we have that UCF was a fallback, but as soon as Auburn came in or FSU came in, they bolted from UCF because UCF wasn't the choice.
Absolutely.
I'm clapping here in the radio station. I don't know if you can hear that, but I love the passion. And James, something that I'll add to that is I think the early signing period has kind of affected that as well, right? Because other P5 programs don't have the time to sit there and wait and get hard commits and kind of pick and choose and then come back after someone when someone falls out, right? So I think that's actually worked to our advantage from a certain perspective. And then on top of that, having the transfer portal at the end of it also helps us. So, I 100% agree. We have people that are definitely making hard choices. The offer list, I mean, if you go through the offer list and look at all of these programs, we are definitely pulling in great players who have visibility that are being offered, and people are choosing UCF, and that has to do with the success. I think combine that with the early signing period, we didn't know which way that was going to go when this was introduced, whether that would be a net positive for us or a net negative. I think it's turned out that it actually is a net positive.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I agree 100% with what James was saying. We're becoming, more of a destination type place for people to go.
Yeah.
They know what they're going to get here. They know the type of coaching that they're going to get. They know that they're going to be developed. And I think we've always been good at developing players.
Yeah.
So, yes, I mean, what he said is completely
right. It is.
completely true.
It's a great point.
It doesn't look good as far as like on if you're looking at recruiting rankings and stuff like that. It doesn't look that great. Oh, we're 64 or whatever. You know?
Yeah, but look at Miami. I mean, those guys are pulling in all the local talent, all 4 stars and 5 stars. They rank top 15, 25
actually on this roster.
Yeah. So I mean, you look at it from that perspective, and you see the quality of the guys that we have coming in. And I know you mentioned facilities earlier. I actually did a college tour over the summer, and I went to Clemson, I went to Auburn, I went to a bunch of different schools as I was traveling back. The only difference between our facilities and their facilities is theirs are wood grain, ours are not. Right? So Danny White has done a great job with the resources that we have to create number one, buzz, and 2, create similar resources. We're going to have a barbershop in our football facility. We also have an indoor practice facility that's air conditioned. So when you look at it, I walked into these places.
Did you go into Clemson's football facility?
Yes.
I get what you're saying. I do with the wood grain. I do. It seems like such a stark difference to me when you talk about a $50 million facility. And it may not be the big things. It may not be the locker room. It may not be the training room. But there's just these little things. You brought it up, a barbershop. Yeah, we're gonna add one of those, and I think that'll help us be
We're also going to have a lazy river. Don't forget about that.
We also will have a lazy river.
Who has that?
It's just so... Our indoor facility is a big-time facility. There's no doubt about it. Our Wayne Dench football building is still very, very far behind, in my opinion, when you look at the overall scope. But it's not as stark as it was in the past. I mean, when I chose UCF, I took an official visit to Florida State and to Penn State, and that was very stark reality that, oh my gosh, this is a whole different level of facility. We've grown, we're getting better and closer, but I still think that kids today, 17-year-olds, they see all this stuff on social media. They are enamored by video and our program does, our social media group does an incredible job at UCF. But I still think sometimes it's difficult when you look and compare facilities. But at the same time, James brings up a good point. We've built this program off 2 and 3 stars that have ended up playing at a high 3-star or 4-star level in their careers, which is what ultimately matters. And that's how we've had success for so long.
Well, now we're getting to that point where we're having high 3 stars as a first choice. And another thing to consider, too, is this, right? When these kids are going through recruiting, a lot of these kids that we're getting, they may be second or third choices at, UF or FSU or somewhere else. But they're our first choice, right? And that does ring true for them and makes a difference for them as well. So I think a lot of the kids that you're seeing do that and really commit to us, it's because, hey, you're the number one on our board. We believe in you. We have similar, not as good of facilities, but we have similar facilities in most of the P5, and especially the lower-end P5, which we're competing with now. We're no longer competing with the Marshalls of the world. We're competing with Georgia Tech, Minnesota, Rutgers, sort of, et cetera.
Yeah, all right. Well, this went in a completely different direction than I thought it was going to today, and I appreciate that, and the callers made that happen. So thank you guys for calling and talking to us and all that stuff. Really, really appreciate it. This has been Nightline the Morning After. Thank you guys for all being here and doing this with me today. We will be back next week, same time, same channel on ESPN Orlando 580. Appreciate it.